There is a truth I only dare to say after many years of living with Shih Tzus, and it's the one that makes many owners stop and rethink. Most Shih Tzu problems don't come from the dogs themselves, but from love that's placed in the wrong way by humans. We love too much, care at the wrong rhythm, and then wonder why such a gentle breed becomes tense, confusing, or even misbehaved. Shih Tzus are not a breed that needs constant, hands-on care. They need to be understood. And the first mistake many people make is believing that the more attention a dog gets, the happier it will be. In reality, it's often the opposite. Being the center of attention for too long, being picked up, called, petted, teased in front of many people quickly overwhelms a Shih Tzu. They don't react aggressively, they simply retreat inward. And when a dog starts withdrawing regularly, that's the moment you've crossed a boundary it doesn't know how to express. Then there's playtime. Shih Tzus enjoy playing, but not the kind of play that never ends. Many people think that more play means a better behaved dog, but Shih Tzus aren't working breeds. When they're tired, they need to stop. And if you don't stop for them, their body and emotions will stop in other ways: irritability, avoidance, or emotional shutdown. A good play session ends while both of you are still comfortable, not when you've finished burning energy. Another psychological shock for new owners. Shih Tzus don't like being hugged. It sounds harsh, but it's true. In dog language, a hug means restraint, no escape. Many Shih Tzus tolerate being held simply because they're gentle, not because they feel safe. If you watch closely, you'll notice they relax far more when gently stroked on the back or chest, or when they choose to climb into your lap on their own terms. Loving correctly isn't about holding tight, it's about giving your dog the right to choose. But don't misunderstand this. Shih Tzus may dislike being hugged, yet they deeply fear emotional neglect. They were bred to live close to humans. When they're ignored for too long and don't receive consistent interaction, Shih Tzus don't just self-regulate. They find ways to speak up. Sometimes that voice comes out as chewing, excessive barking, or inappropriate toileting. That's not revenge. It's a signal. I'm being left behind. Something many people don't realize is how quickly Shih Tzus absorb the emotional atmosphere of a home. Arguments, shouting, prolonged tension don't only affect humans. For a Shih Tzu, that kind of environment feels unsafe. They don't understand the words, but they sense the energy clearly. Living in that state for too long makes them guarded, anxious, and sometimes alters their personality. A happy Shih Tzu doesn't need a big house, just emotional stability. Loud noise is a direct hit to a Shih Tzu's nervous system. Thunder, fireworks, vacuum cleaners, traffic sounds, these aren't just annoying to them, they feel threatening. This is especially true for rescued or older dogs. If your dog panics at loud sounds, don't dismiss or mock it. That's when they need you most. Even feeding is often mishandled. Forcing a Shih Tzu to eat doesn't make them better behaved, it makes them more stressed. They eat according to their body's rhythm, not their owner's emotions. Begging, constantly switching foods, or pressuring them creates a cycle of pickiness. Clear meal times, calm energy, and zero pressure are what bring stability. And no, Shih Tzus don't need to go outside constantly. They're indoor dogs. Too much outdoor time, especially in hot weather, doesn't make them happier, it makes their bodies work harder. One gentle walk at the right time, in the right conditions, is enough. Some anxieties come from very small things, like height. Many Shih Tzus dislike high beds, balconies, or slippery stairs. Forcing them to get used to it doesn't make them braver, it strips away their sense of safety. And finally, bathing. Not every Shih Tzu hates water, but many hate being forced. One bad bathing experience can stay with them for a long time. If your dog is extremely tense, professional grooming or learning gentle home bathing methods is often the kinder choice. Shih Tzus aren't difficult because they're fussy. They're difficult because they are emotionally sensitive and brutally honest. They mirror exactly how they're treated every single day. If you've read this and thought, I've done a few of these things before, you're not wrong, you're learning. Share your experience in the comments. Real stories help other owners avoid unnecessary harm. And if you want to continue these deep, honest, very real conversations about life with Shih Tzus, stay with the channel. Loving a small dog isn't about loving more, it's about loving right. There is an even deeper layer that only people who have lived with Shih Tzus long enough begin to touch. Shih Tzus don't live by rules of right and wrong, they live by a sense of safety. And many behaviors that humans consider training, discipline, or getting them used to it are actually slowly eroding that sense of safety. Little by little. Shih Tzus don't understand why you're gentle today and irritated tomorrow. They can't distinguish between you're stressed from work and they did something wrong. To a Shih Tzu, your emotions are the environment they live in. When you're unpredictable, they become alert. When you're inconsistent, they withdraw. And when this happens repeatedly, you'll see a Shih Tzu that shows less emotion, approaches you less, not because they love you less, but because they are protecting themselves. One thing many people overlook is that Shih Tzus don't like being rushed into making decisions, not coming immediately when called, hesitating before entering a room, pausing for a few seconds before eating. These aren't signs of stubbornness. This is how a Shih Tzu checks whether a situation is safe. When you shout, rush, or physically pull them along, you're teaching them the world doesn't give you time to think. A dog that lives in that feeling for too long becomes anxious, even if they remain outwardly quiet. Shih Tzus are also a breed that remembers negative experiences for a very long time, especially those involving their bodies, being restrained, having their fur pulled, being hurt during grooming, being jerked by the leash. They don't forget as quickly as you might think. What's important is that they rarely resist immediately. They simply avoid. Then one day, you realize your dog no longer enjoys grooming, doesn't want to come near when you pick up the leash, and no longer seeks you out. That isn't random. That's memory. Another very human mistake is comparing Shih Tzus to other dogs. Other people's dogs are fine. That dog is so well behaved. Shih Tzus weren't born to be like any other breed. When you apply standards of high energy, instant obedience, or fast reactions from working breeds to a Shih Tzu, you will always be disappointed. And disappointment leads to more disappointment. Dogs feel that very clearly. Shih Tzus also don't do well with the kind of love that says, I'll make it up to you when I'm free. Being busy all day and then overcompensating at night with intense affection or play doesn't make them feel safer. For Shih Tzus, consistency matters more than intensity. A little interaction every day is far better than neglect one day and overload the next. And here's the part that often breaks the hearts of first-time owners. Shih Tzus don't react to please you. They react to keep the peace. They are exceptionally good at enduring. That's why, when problems finally appear, it's often already late. They don't bark loudly or become destructively aggressive. They simply become different. Fewer glances, less closeness, less initiative. And if you're not paying close attention, you might think, they've just grown up. No, they've learned how to be silent. Raising a Shih Tzu, then, isn't about managing an easygoing dog, it's about living with a creature that is exquisitely sensitive to emotion. They don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be consistent. They don't need you to be cheerful all the time. They need you to be stable. They don't need loud, dramatic love. They need you to understand that, for a Shih Tzu, safety is the highest form of love. If you've made it this far and see parts of yourself in what's been said, trust that you're not alone. Many Shih Tzu owners only understand these things after years of living together. Share your story in the comments, not to judge right or wrong, but to help those who come after move more slowly, more gently, and more wisely from the very beginning. There is a phase that almost every Shih Tzu owner goes through, even though it's rarely spoken out loud. It's the moment when you suddenly realize you've done many things for your dog, but not necessarily the things your dog truly needs. Not because of a lack of love, but because humans tend to love in their own way, while Shih Tzus need to be loved in a very different one. Shih Tzus don't react strongly when they're hurt. They don't growl warnings or explode. They withdraw. And that withdrawal is very subtle. Fewer looks toward you. Less initiative to touch you. Less excitement when you come home. If you don't slow down enough, you'll miss these signals. You might think it's just a dog growing up, becoming less clingy, nothing unusual. But with Shih Tzus, silence is rarely normal. It's often a sign that they've adjusted themselves so they won't bother you anymore. One thing that constantly troubles me when advising Shih Tzu owners is how humans define obedience. Many people like a dog that doesn't react, doesn't resist, doesn't interrupt, but with Shih Tzus, Obedience is sometimes not a sign of happiness, but a sign that they've learned how to endure. They stay quiet not because they're okay, but because they no longer believe that speaking up will change anything. Shih Tzus also dislike sudden changes. Moving homes, changing routines, changing caregivers, changing interaction styles, all of these affect them more deeply than you might expect. They need time to adapt, but they don't know how to ask for that time. When you push everything to move faster than they can handle, you place a Shih Tzu in a constant state of alertness. And a dog that stays alert for too long can never truly relax, not even when sleeping. Some people tell me, my Shih Tzu sleeps all the time, but sleep isn't always rest. For Shih Tzus, sleeping can sometimes be the only way to escape a world that's too overstimulating. Too much noise, too much touching, too many expectations. They're not running away, they're simply turning themselves down. Another rarely mentioned point, Shih Tzus need to be respected as individuals, not treated like cute decorative objects. Being picked up at any moment, placed down anywhere, moved according to human convenience, gradually strips away their sense of control. And for a Shih Tzu, losing control means losing safety. A small dog needs to know, I have the right to stay still, to move slowly, to choose not to participate.